Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Leads Acquisition to Contract Renewal webinar. My name is Stéphane Poirier, your host for today. And this session is scheduled for an hour, but our goal is to give you an overview of our Leads to Renewal framework in action with different company personas in about 30 minutes. And my colleague Jeremy Watson will be doing this 30-minute part of the webinar. So before we jump in Jeremy's demonstration, let me just give you a high-level view of the framework that can help you succeed in your digital transformation journey. First, we can see that our framework covers the entire spectrum of a company's key operations through the complete customer journey, from the acquisition of a sales leads, then converted as a customer, followed by the creation and execution of an order, and ultimately, the process of renewing the business with your customer. And secondly, all these key company processes are optimized with a cloud solution powered by the Salesforce platform, which can be surprising as most people think Salesforce only allows to manage leads, opportunities, and contacts. In fact, over the years, Nubic has been involved in so many digital transformation projects that it was able to build each single piece of this framework by experiencing numerous solutions available in the Salesforce ecosystem. Some were not always a good fit for what we were trying to accomplish, but the end result as of today is what really matters, building your path to market leadership through digital transformation. In brief, all these different solutions work seamlessly as one single system in the framework. For today, Jeremy will present an overview of the 3 pillars of the framework. So make sure to join our upcoming webinars, which will deep dive in each pillar: winning, delivering, and growing. I guess you're ready to see how our solutions framework applies to your business reality. Well, Jeremy is. And one thing, throughout this presentation, you can type your questions or comments in the Q&A section, and we will handle them after the webinar. All right, Jeremy, now your turn.
Okay, thank you, Stéphane. So, in today's demonstration, I'm going to be using various different personas which represent, different roles within the company. Just so you know this scenario of this demonstration, so our company sells servers, they sell software that we install those servers, and we also do maintenance on those servers. So just keep that in mind while we're going through this fictitious company's scenario. So first of all, I'm logged in as Sam Sales here in Salesforce, and he's a sales rep at our company. When Sam Sales logs in, he can go through his home tab here, and the first thing that he's going to be able to see is his dashboard. And on this dashboard, he sees all the relevant information that he would be interested in seeing. For example, the sales leaderboard, or margin by month, his sales pipeline, what's upcoming. But for this demonstration, what I wanted to look at first is the lead rating. So this lead rating board basically gives you all your hot leads and the ones that are a little less interesting. The one that we want to look at today, just for the scenario, is Peter DeBoer. So he's the head coach of the San Jose Sharks, which is a hockey team in San Jose. So let's open up his record for Mr. DeBoer. So in here, we can see right away on the right-hand side that I've logged a call here. Sam Sales logged a call with Peter. And in my scenario, Peter's interested in purchasing our services, our server services. So if we want to convert this to an opportunity, we would go here on this lead and click on this button. And what that would do is basically allow you to create 3 records in Salesforce. So you would have the account, the contact, and the opportunity that you could create. And Salesforce is smart enough to let you know if you already have an existing account for the San Jose Sharks, or if you already have, existing contact for Mr. Peter, or existing opportunity. But in our scenario, let's just click convert, and it's going to be automatically bringing us to the opportunity. Okay, so now that we have our opportunity created, you can see at the top part here, this is the sales path from qualification all the way to closed. And it's a nice little tool that you can use to let your sales representative know what key fields they need to enter, as well as what, how you can guide them for success in each stage of this sales path. So let's fast forward a little bit here in our scenario, and let's try to configure the quote, because Peter called us and he's ready to receive a quote from us. He's asked for a number of different items from our company, so servers, software, and we'll go ahead and jump straight into quote to configure what Peter wants. So here we can see the quote is now, $0, but let's go and add lines and add products to this quote. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is click on this Add Product button up here. And this thing that you see here is a feature called Guided Selling. So this basically will ask your sales representative a number of questions, predetermined questions, that will then help the system to narrow down the products that will be offered for him to pick to include in the quote. So in this case, for example, let's leave the default values of 10 to 100 users, as well as the location in USA, Canada. When I hit the suggest button, my system is going to automatically search through my product catalog to suggest the right product for this deal. And go ahead and hit suggest. So we can see here we have an IoT server, which is exactly what Peter was asking for. It's the base server, but we can also configure it. So let's go ahead and check that. And we're going to go configure it by using the select button up here. What this allows us to do is basically just add, hardware, software, and services to this product. So by speaking with Peter, we know that he wanted to have a 10 terabyte RAID NAS. So let's select this. We're also going to include, by default, it includes the Windows 10 server, but we're going to include as well the network monitoring software. And finally, in services, we know that Peter was okay with the bronze server maintenance. Let's check that off. And he's okay with one server installation as a service. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And this is going to present us a nice summarized view of all the products that we just selected here, along with the unit price. So I want to bring your attention up here to the subscription terms. So if you have any products that are subscription billing based, we can basically enter a number of months if we know that our contract's going to be for 2 years, and it's going to update your quote accordingly. For example, this network monitoring software is for 2 years, so the price doubled here. Another neat feature of this quoting configuration tool is that we can enter a target customer amount. So if, for example, Peter called us and said, I'm never going to accept this quote over $50,000, so we know that we need to bring the amount down. So as soon as I tab out of this field here, the system will automatically calculate the additional discounts to reach our quote total of $50,000. Now, an interesting thing that we built in here is the approval flag. So if you have small discounts, maybe it's okay for your company and you don't need an approval on these. But for higher discounts, perhaps you want this to go for approval to your manager, or even worse, the finance department. So in that case, we might not want the finance department to wait for the finance department to approve this. So let's go ahead and reduce the discount so that it just goes to the manager. Once I hit save here, it's basically going to generate 2 approval processes to approve the pricing that the discounted pricing that we're asking for. In addition, we can have alerts configured here on the system. For example, when you have, in this particular case, when you have a customer with more than 10 locations, they suggest a different maintenance plan. But we're okay with the maintenance plan, the bronze maintenance plan that we had initially. So let's click continue. Now we've configured our quote with a total amount of $50,445. What's next for Sam Sales here is to create a quote document to be able to send that out to Peter. So let's go ahead and click this button here. And what this does is it launches a third-party app that's built on top of Salesforce, or integrated with Salesforce rather, which is called Conga. And Conga basically allows you to nicely format PDFs and Word documents based on the data we have in Salesforce. So by doing this, it basically generated a quote here that I can click on. And as you can see, we have the date here. We have prepared for the San Jose Sharks, and we have everything that we picked in the previous screen on the quote product selection. So we can make this as nice as you need it to be, but this is just a template that we had here. So fast forward, we send this over to Peter, and he likes the quote, he approves it. We could do this either through email, or we can print this quote out and send it the old way. And then once he gets back to us, we could do an approved by client. So we can click on this to let our system know that this is approved by Peter. We could also go the e-signature route through email. So if he, signs electronically through email, this could automatically trigger an approval on your quote. But in this case, let's just go ahead and mark it as approved by client. And what this does, there's a lot going on in the back end of our system. So once your quote is approved, we can go check on the actual opportunity. The opportunity is now closed won. It's marked as closed won. In addition to that, you can see that there's 2 new tasks that were created here. So one for your project manager, Paul Project, to create a project and start assigning resources on this project. And another task was created by for Camille Controller, who's our controller on this project. And he needs to review and activate the contract. This is another thing that was automatically created behind the scenes is the contract. So once you have your quote along with your line items that gets approved, we can then create our contract that we can get our controller to review. In addition, these 2 tasks, we can also get notifications, email notifications, or chatter messages to be sent to these 2 resources so that they can start working. So this is the end of the road for Sam Sales. So he's closed his deal. Let's move on to Camille Controller, who's our controller at the company. I'm going to wear the controller hat now. And when he goes and logs in on his homepage, he sees a very different dashboard here. He sees a controller dashboard. So we can have a dashboard set up for every different function or every different department that you need. So he can see, for example, income statement, trial balance, detailed report, his margins by month, etc. So you can have, depending on the data that you have underneath, you can build all these different dashboards. What you can see here on the right-hand side that I want to bring your attention to is that Sam Sales has we automatically generated this chatter message to let him know that, the opportunity that we just created has just closed and it needs your attention. So we can just go ahead and click on that and it would bring us automatically to the opportunity. And from here, we'd be able to open up the contract. So if I switch over to the contract, this contract was automatically created. So as you can see, the value is not exactly what we had before. This is because, the professional services of the installation of the servers is going to be billed out on a time and material fashion through PSA. So I'm going to show you that towards the end of the demonstration where we can bill individual time cards and expense. But for the first billing and the recurring billing, for the one-offs and the recurring billing, we can do it directly in Billing Central here on the contract. So the first 3 items you can see are one-offs. So they're going to be billed just one time. But the 2 last items, the network monitoring software and the server maintenance, are recurring fixed. We could have also made them recurring variable. And in terms of billing term, this is fully customizable as well. We can make it quarterly billing. You can even make bi-weekly, etc. So let's not change anything on here. I'm going to go ahead and save this contract. So what Camille Controller wants to do now is to activate the contract. And by activating the contract, the system is going to automatically generate the next 12 months billing schedules. And what this will allow us to do is to easily generate billing documents monthly on a month-by-month basis so that we can send to our customer. And in the back end, the system is currently generating billing schedules. So I'll give it 30 seconds more or less so that I'd be able to generate our first billing document here. This billing document will comprise, the 3 one-offs as well as the first 2 months of our subscription billing. So let's go ahead and click on Create Billing. I think it's been long enough. And we'll bill from today up till, let's put it to the end of next month. And our document date can be today as well. We want the document only to be one single document, but if you wanted, you could also do separate document for each billing type. I'm going to go ahead and hit create here. And it successfully created my billing document. So I can open this up and show you what it looks like. But as I explained, you see the first 3 lines are one-offs. And then you have your recurring for the first 2 months. Okay, and you can either send that email out to Peter so that he gets his first invoice, or you could use the print button, and the print button is going to use something like Conga, for example, to generate an invoice with the formatting that you need, and then you can send it over by mail. So this is the end of the first part scenario for Camille. Let's jump over to Paul Project here, the project manager, to start staffing the project so that we can start working on it. Okay, so Paul Project, when he logs in on his home page, again, sees a very different dashboard. He sees data that's relevant to him, to what he's interested in. For example, the number of go lives that he's having in the next few months. He can easily see, which project is in difficulty. He sees his team's utilization, his milestones, etc. Again, so you see that a task was created for Paul to create a project and assign resources. So he can follow up through this by clicking directly on here, and it'll bring him to the opportunity that was just closed. From here, the project could have automatically been created on closed 1 of the opportunity. But for the point of this demo, I'd like to show you how you can do it manually as well using project templates. So let's go ahead and click on Create Project from Project Templates. So the idea behind this is that you can build a number of different project templates. If you have projects that are always, repeating the same tasks over and over, you can create a project template, and then you can use that to pre-populate or automatically create your projects with this. So we're going to go ahead and select our first template for the USA project for installation of servers. Let's go ahead and select this. And on this next screen, basically you have a lot of information, but this is all pre-populated from our templates. So you have your project manager here, which is Paul Project. You have your start and end date, which you can modify, number of planned hours, etc. One thing to note here is that it's a time and material project, so we'll show you how we can bill individual time cards in a few moments. But you can also here create a budget that brings in the amount from the opportunity for services. And these types of projects, for example, could have 2 milestones, 1 professional services, 1 field service for the installation of your servers. And like I said, there's all these different tasks, project tasks that will be brought in once we create the project. So I'm going to go ahead and if I click on this button, it's going to automatically create a project. So I'll switch over to the created project. So I did this beforehand just to save us some time here, but it's basically the same thing. So when the project gets created, you'll see at the top here, you have 1 budget, you'll have 2 milestones, and you'll have a number of project tasks. And you'll have all the other information on the project here. But what we want to do here in this scenario, Paul Project wants to staff his project for his professional services. So we're going to go ahead and click on Project Taskant. Let me take a moment to explain this Project Taskant. So here you can see on the left-hand side, this is your tasks. So we have field services tasks and we have professional services tasks, and I'll basically expand them all here. We see that our project starts on March 4th and ends, first week of April. We can easily use the right side here to add the number of days to your project. You can slide using the slider, a nice drag and drop interface here. And you can change your dependencies as well if you need to. But let's leave everything as is. This is basically came pre-populated with our project template. So these are the standard tasks that we have on an SMB server installation. But what Paul wants to do here, like I mentioned, is to assign some of these tasks. So let's go ahead and assign these 3 tasks to for example, a business analyst. So I'm going to go ahead and right click here, and I can click assign. And maybe I don't know who I want to assign just yet. Maybe I want to look for a resource. So this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to select this generic resource instead of picking one of these resources. I'm going to pick, okay, let's assign this to a business analyst. And let's apply this and save this. And we could do this with all these different tasks. For example, if I do here, I could go ahead and assign this to a different type of resource. I'm going to go ahead and select a consultant here and apply the changes as well and save. So what you're going to see here is now the next step is to create a held resource request. So because we don't want to generate an assignment yet, we don't know who's going to be assigned to these tasks, but we want to create resource requests to go and find the right resource. So we're going to click on that button. And this will allow us to generate resource requests based on what we had previously determined in the task ant. So we know that we were looking for a consultant as well as an analyst for a total of 40 hours. And we can input a requested bill rate if we know here, and hit the generate button. So I'll show you in a moment on the resource planner how we can then look at those generic resources and swap the resource request for an actual resource. So let's go back to the project details now. So we have 2 resource requests that were just created. But like I said, let's go in the resource planner. And we'll be able to assign these to different resources. So the resource planner is a fairly good tool on its own. On the right side here, you see, per week in this case, but I could also do per month or per day. Just gonna hit, let's leave it at week and hit the fit button to fit it in our view. And on the left-hand side here, you have all your resources. Okay, so we have quite a bit of resources here in our organization. And this right here, that's I highlighted, is the resource request that we just created. So it's 40 hours in the middle of March. But what if Paul Project here needs to assign this to, he needs to find who's available for this. So let's go ahead and apply filters. So first of all, we want someone that works in North America. So I'm going to go ahead here and select the North America region and include the subregions. I'm going to apply the filters and reload. So you can see the list has been filtered a little bit, but we still have a lot of people. So let's filter this even more. Let's add, for example, the resource role. So we're looking for business analysts, and let's apply the filters. Again, so it filtered the list even more. So now we have 4 potential candidates. Let's narrow this list even more. So if we add, for example, a skills and certification filter, we can say, oh, this is a hockey team, right? So let's grab, let's find if any of our resources is comfortable with hockey. So let's apply this and reload. You can see there's 2 resources that are now eligible for this. And both of them don't seem to be busy during March. So both are great candidates. So what we're going to do here is we're going to swap this directly on the planner. I'm going to hit the swap resource. And I'm going to type in John over here. And we can easily swap. As soon as I click that button, you're going to see the resource request just swapped. So it moved from the top to John's schedule. And if I wanted to get him started earlier on this assignment, I could do it as well. Now, this is just a resource request. But once you want to create an assignment, when you want him to actually start the work, we can also do it straight from here. I'm not going to go into details on this, but just know that it can be done. So now I've shown you how we can, assign resources for professional services. Let's go back to our project so that we can generate work orders for our field service technicians. I'm going to go back to the project, and let's go back to the project task ant. Okay. So as you can see, I'll close out the professional services because we can assume that this was assigned. But the field services here, we have 2 tasks. Well, we have an install SMB server and an install software in box. We can see that the more pressing one is the one next week, next Monday. So I'm going to go ahead and check this box, create work order here. And what this is going to let our system know is to generate a work order based on this task. And this is going to send the notification out to our field service dispatcher. If I go back on the project, you can see now that there's a work order that's been created by Paul's project, but this is the extent of what I want to show you in PSA. There's a lot more features to this, but I want to switch hats now to the dispatcher to grab this work order and look for the appropriate technician to do the install of the server. So switching over to Dom Dispatcher, she's a field service scheduler. So again, if I click on her home tab here, she has a very different dashboard. So she can see, you know, the average service appointment duration, or she can see, you know, what is the status of all her service appointments. But realistically, Dom Dispatcher is always working in this field service console. So this console basically is a daily view of what your technicians are working on. So you can see all your technicians here in San Francisco, for example. They might be working on all of these different service appointments during the day. There's also a map view, which can be very interesting, where you see, you know, your different service appointments for the day. So you can reassign it accordingly to your different technicians. You also see your home bases for each of your technicians. If I had my technicians here enable location services, I could also see where they are in near real time on the map, so I can dispatch emergencies, for example. But coming back to our scenario here, so we have this Central Village Sharks service appointment that was automatically created with the work order. So we want to find who's the best technician for this. So we can click here automatically on candidates, and it's going to look through Monday, March 4th and give us the only one that was available, which is Jane Austen here. And it's going to rate everybody that's available on a number of different factors, parameters that you set up in field service. But let's go ahead and follow the recommendation and assign this to Jane Austen. So once this is assigned, this can send out a notification to Jane directly on her mobile phone, for example. There's a mobile app for field service technicians that they can use to let them know that they've been assigned on this day for this service appointment. We can also dispatch directly from here and basically locking it in for her to know that she'll be working on that. This field service Lightning has a lot more, you know, different features that I didn't demo today. But if you're interested in knowing more about this, it's a very interesting tool. So this is the extent of what I wanted to do with the dispatcher. Let's switch over to Jane Austen on my mobile phone. So I'm going to just give me a second here to switch to my mobile phone. So now we have Jane Austen here. If we look at her schedule for March 4th, okay, we can see that she has quite a few appointments here. But the one that we're interested in is the 246 one. Okay. The first thing we can see here is at the top here a map, a service appointment map, where it tells you where this service appointment is. So in Santa Clara, for example, you have an ETA of a day and 21 hours to drive, because I currently am located in Montreal, but if your technician was in California, it'd be a more relevant ETA. She could get direct driving directions with her phone. If you scroll down here, we can also see you can directly contact Peter DeBoer, for example, for a call, a message, or an email to let him know that we have arrived. There's also actions here that you can have directly on your phone to let them know that you've arrived. So there's an arrive button right here. And if I click on it, you know, it automatically takes, you know, right today's date and today's time. If we scroll down a bit further, we have the install SMB server here. This is the work order line item. So if you have many tasks, we would see them all listed out here, and we could track the completion of the project or the installation. Another interesting thing that we can see is in the related tabs here, we can see the products required. So before she leaves her warehouse, she knows that she needs to pick up an IoT server, for example, to bring on her van. Once she's done with the job, she could also add a product consumed here. just by clicking here, and she could use either scan it if you've configured that, or she could just search for it by typing it, and we'd be able to mark it as consumed here. Okay. Now let's fast forward and pretend that she's completed a job, she's consumed the server. She wants to create a service report. So we're going to click over here and create service report. And this offers you the ability to have a digital signature. So we're going to go ahead and click here. And what it happens is that asks us to hand over your mobile phone to, in this case, Peter. And we're going to ask him to sign. So he can review this service report, and then he can just sign it right here and go ahead and type in his name. I can also use my finger to sign for him. Okay. So once that's completed, then we can just generate the service report. And while this is generating, basically it's going to attach itself to Salesforce on the service appointments record. So this is for the PM to look at, or the dispatcher, for example. Now let's just take a look real quick at what it looks like. So this is the document that was just generated with the signature that I created, with all the relevant information that we need. Another action that she can do once she's done is clock in. So enter her time card. So we can just do that really quick. And the idea is that once we clock in with this, we'll be able to invoice her time card. So let's go ahead and select the start time. So we're entering time in the future, but that should be okay. Let's go ahead and select March 4th. So this could also be, automatically processed by our system if they clock in and clock out. But in this case, we're letting them, we're going to do it manually. So let's add maybe 3 hours here. We're going to select the service appointment, and we're going to look for the timesheet here. Okay. And go ahead and save this. And this should create a, in the backend, it's going to create a time card directly in our PSA system on the project. This is where I want to bring you after this. One last thing I wanted to show you on the mobile application here is that you can also have, for example, you can create a new opportunity directly from here. So for example, if Peter was interested in our different services, you could have created a new opportunity directly from the mobile app, and that would have logged it into Salesforce. Okay. Well, let's switch back to Camille Controller. And we're going to go back on our project, actually. Let's go look for our project. And what I want to do here is invoice the time card. So as you can see here, there's 2 time cards created. So there was an old time card that was there as well, but we have our time card here created for 3 hours. I'm going to go ahead and click on project billing. And again, this is one of the things where we can automate billing monthly on a generated schedule, but I just wanted to show you how you can also pick and choose manually what you want on your invoice. So you could have time cards here, you could add expenses. If you have miscellaneous adjustments, you can also have that there. But in this case, let's just pick the one time card that we're interested in, and we can generate a billing event just by clicking this button. You can think of a billing event as a pre-invoice. So basically it gets you a summary amount, you can get it approved, you can get it released, and then you can send it to your accounting system, whatever it is. But if you have Financial Force Accounting, which is another Financial Force product, it can connect directly nicely with a sales invoice. So one of the final things I wanted to show you as well is contract renewals. So let's say Peter asked us to change our server maintenance from bronze to silver next year. So what we want to do here as the controller here is end the contract. Let's put an end date for tomorrow, and we're going to say he's renewing. So ending the current contract, now we can generate a renewal contract as well by clicking the Create Renewal button. And you can also even adjust prices by percentage or update your prices from your price book. But in this case, I'm just going to adjust 10% here, for example. And once this is generated, we'd be able to go ahead and edit our contract just by clicking the edit button and removing our server maintenance here and looking up in the correct price book. We can look for example, the silver SLA maintenance, and we can set it up for example, a yearly recurring fixed cost, and then we can save this. And we would go again through the different steps to activate the contract, generate billing schedules, eventually send your billing documents out. So I know I went pretty quickly. I went over a lot of different systems as well, from Financial Force as well as Salesforce. And it was very high level overview, but I hope this was helpful, insightful to see at least, high level what you can do with all these systems. And I'll pass the talking stick back to Stéphane to finish this presentation.
Thanks, Jeremy. It was indeed very interesting and very good pace. Also, we're pretty good on schedule right now. So I'll just conclude with a few things here. To sum Jeremy's demonstration, we had, first of all, Sam Sales, as you saw. He converted the lead to an opportunity, configured the quote, and sent out the quote for approval. After that, Camille reviewed, activated the billing contract, and sent out the first billing document to the client. Then Paul created the project, planned the project tasks and the task Gantt. He assigned resources and generated a work order also. And then it was for Dom Dispatcher to search for the FSL console for the right resource for the job, dispatch to serve installation to Jane Austin. And then Jane used the FSL mobile app to mark her arrival on site, the products consumed for the job. She generated a service report with client signature and then entered her time directly within the app. And finally, Camille billed the time card out to a sales invoice for billing, renewed the contract for another year. Before you go, a few highlights about us very quickly. So we are your true digital transformation experts. I mean, this is the only thing we do day in, day out. We also have a North American presence with customers everywhere from east to west, from north to south. Over 125 certified experts dedicated to customer success, which includes CPAs for the accounting portion and PMP certified resources. We are 100% focused on the Salesforce ecosystems. And finally, what you have seen today is our leads acquisition to contract renewal framework, which puts together different solutions on the Salesforce platform, making it your system to run your entire business in the cloud. Stay tuned for upcoming webinars where we will deep dive in each pillar, winning, delivering, and growing. I want to thank you also for all the questions asked in the Q&A. We will reach out to you individually following today's presentation to provide the right and detailed answers. And in the meantime, and that's my final word here, we invite you to download our ebooks simply using this link here, newbigforce.com/ebooks. They are written to guide your business, to help you become a market disruptor. Jeremy and I are thanking you again for your presence and wish you a wonderful day.